Hello and welcome back to Ankford Place.
Course.
We just arrived at this new place, and we should probably get
Yeah?
to know our guy.
As a peripatetic loner, I'm not privy to the latest news, but the Hollowborn Children is a tale that has reached even my reclusive ears. Or, rather, ear.
What do the Clanfather druids think of this blight?
It's been a long time since I've spoken with my circle. They'd probably tell you what I'd tell you. This plight was most certainly the consequence of someone trespassing into Ngwithan places, not meant for folk. I mean, what else other than the gods could inflict punishment of such impressive scale?
What are your thoughts on the Hollowborn?
Anytime a life is separated from its soul, I wanted to pretend it was just a rumor when I first heard of it.
Of course, that's... Did my microphone seriously just die on me? No, it didn't. Okay. That is, yeah, I would have wanted to pretend it was just a rumor as well. That was also just like, my first reaction was just like, no, like, what? Babies?
In my youth, I'd cursed the dear Woodens for being ignorant to spoilers that breed out of control. But soulless babies? What heartless gods would inflict that kind of tragedy? No parent or child deserves to be a part of that horror.
Let's talk about other matters.
Need something?
Tell me about yourself.
My second favorite subject. What would you like to know?
How did you come to be trained as a druid? It wasn't entirely by choice. Not at the start, at least. My ambition was to be a hunter. I merely arrived by a different trail. As a child, an Ankford came to visit. An honored guest is occasion for a grand chase, but I left out, instructed instead to be cupbearer to the wise one while the rest were on hunt. I'm sure you can guess what happens. Wise Ankford gives dumb child a shred of attention. We ended up talking until the hunters returned. He gave me this. He presents a rusted iron medallion, fashioned in the likeness of the hound's head, a common icon amongst the frontiersmen, explorers, and other seekers faithful to Galavane. The Ankford insisted I be trained and none in my village would defy him. Now, I don't need a bow to hunt. Where are you from originally?
My mother's crotch. You?
What a coincidence! I also came from your mother's crotch.
For the record, only I'm allowed to insult my mother. But I respect your dedication to banter, so I'll let it slide. This time. I grew up in Glonfoth, specifically in and around Thane Bog. My people, the Fisher Crane tribe, are migrant stewards of the land. I've walked the whole of Glonfoth many times.
What's the story behind the symbol of Vale on your eye patch? Vale is known as the eyeless face, so this symbol seemed a good fit for my eye patch. Vale iconography is rather popular in my home tribe, but seems he's not widely venerated here in the desert. I remember thinking that if I consecrated my eye to he who obfuscates and reveals, and maybe with enough devotion, Vale would make use of the old ruined thing. So, if you think you see me staring at rumps and cleavage, it's really just the will of Vale controlling my gaze. Honest. What's your relationship with Galavane? I was raised as a disciple of the Seeker God. He is the champion of the hunt, be it the simple struggle for sustenance and scurry pursuit of knowledge. In my older years, I've found life has shown me I am more suited to the ways of Vale. The furious hunt for knowledge also often outpaces the journey to real understanding. Doesn't know if changing into animals, what sort of creatures can you become? All sorts of things. Let's discuss something else. That's an usually tense response from you. What are you holding back?
It's a long story, and I haven't really told it before to an outsider, so bear with me. I struggled with spirit shifting, the final rite of passage in my druidic training. I prayed to Galavane for insight and, in the style of seekers of old, went to the forest, alone, to ask for guidance.
Oh.
Then I got my answer, An answer at least, in the form of a vibrantly colored Stelgar that pounced from the underbrush and made a salient demonstration of its capacity to eat things 1/15th its size.
You're alive today, so how did you fend off the beast?
Fended off. I ripped off its arm and sent it running. As the beast was lopping off bits of my handsomeness, I remember trying to fight back, swinging with arms too short to reach. I felt I had the energy for one last swipe at the beast's nose, and when I lashed out with a punch, my arm felt twice as massive, and my fingers sprouted talons. In a rush of power, I shifted into a mirror of my assailant. Apparently, he couldn't pick on someone his own size. By the battle's end, his severed arm was in my maw. The beast limped away in defeat.
That's quite an impressive tale. I thought landing Spirit Shift would win me some respect, maybe trap myself on an indebted lass with the lust for little men. As I might have been better off staying a novice. When I wandered back to my village, they saw my wounds and asked what happened. I showed them. The name they called my phone was the Autumn Stelgia, and they were not impressed. The rear of my circle believed the Autumn Stelgia to be a heinous abomination. It is said that if it eats you, your soul is invariably lost. This was my first and most intuitive form. They deemed me a carrier of its evil. Even though I never so much as threatened my kin, I was ruled unfit and cast out. I don't know what message Galloway was trying to send. The only lesson I learned was that the Seeker God will punish you for seeking. Can you learn to spirit shift into something less terrifying? I already can and sometimes do. But the druids of my circle assign great meaning to one's first form. I'll always be unclean to them. You didn't Were you at least recognized as a proper druid? No. But I know I passed an initiation rite 5 times more perilous than any of those kin betrayers that insisted I was a failure. You didn't choose your spirit shifting form then? No. It chose me, or so I imagine. I always assumed I would shift into a stoat. Seems more true to my nature. As the obscure teaches, when its answer is inscrutable, one must content to ponder the question. Thank you for sharing your story.
Well, if you don't know me, you can't trust me. And if you can't trust me, odds are low you'll leap in front of a flying arrow to save my life. I've been meaning to visit the druids of Twin Elms to see if they know more about my spirit shift. If our journey takes us there, perhaps they can enlighten me with more information about the Autumn Stelgar. But for now, maybe we can talk about something less depressing?
What do you hear about Galloway and Vale? Oh, not sure what there is to say on the subject, unless you were itching for a religious debate. Tell me about your thoughts on Vale. Came to know Vale in earnest the first year of my exile. I asked myself why Galloway would punish me for asking questions, what just and fair God would punish me for doing as he asked. Questioning why I had been mauled just drove me mad. At the height of my worry, I would have dreams where I only saw with my injured eye. My healthy eye became blind in my dream. So one afternoon I stitched a stylized motif on the patch. I like to think of it as myself initiating into the Brotherhood of Vale. Vale is not an instructor of war-bearing deity. He does not freely dispense wisdom and expect all of us to question and explore with our own minds. Vale reminds me that curiosity is being receptive to any and all truths, not hunting for one answer. Has Vale ever actually spoken directly to you or sent you a sign? No, never directly. Which is as it should be, given what he represents. I especially like how Vale never sends wild beasts to maul me. But maybe I have low expectation of such things. Thank you for sharing. And thank you for listening. Good.
Not a problem.
Hey.
Find a druid who knows more about the Autumn Stelgar. Cool place. You must have seen something. I don't suppose you've seen a young elven noble woman around these parts. Not really, no. Not from what I can remember. What is this? What's this? What's this? There's white stuff in the air. Oh, it's a bar. Let's see. Sid. Nanaki Faral.
I just
day,
want to
stranger.
find her.
A redhead
Surely
stands
even
by
you
the-
can understand that.
Redhead stands by the fire, tuning her lute and plucking its strings. She hums snatches of a melody as she goes. First time at the rack again. Normally I'd have a song ready, but I haven't quite worked out the tune yet. I'm writing some chats about the finding of this inn. Say you interested in the story? I haven't finished the chats, but I could tell you about it all the same. Sure, let's hear it. It was been the time of Hadrod's rebellion. An Indian lady, Thainu, once had a keep here. One of the towers still stands, but is said to be buried under the village. Anyway, she stuck out to the side of the empire, and a contingent of Duke Hadrick's Knights of the Crucible helped the farmers and colonists in the area turn her keep to rubble. Then was the first building that sprang up from the ruin. Built with some of the same bricks the colonists had pulled from the Lady Faina's castle, they say. Supposedly, the quarterstaffer, chief wizard, even got lost in the construction, mortared into a wall or nailed under a floorboard. Anyway, the inn was supposed to be a haven and meeting place while the locals built their new town. Go on. They wouldn't sign on any lot, and the more these new neighbors met, the more they argued. They realized they didn't agree on much beside ousting the old lord. The biggest divide was over the Glenfathins and the nearby ruins. Hatter's Knights and their supporters wanted to keep the peace, but a group of misfits with more anarchic learnings that had formed the town wanted to go after the tribes the same way they'd gone after their lord. Soon the villagers were fighting with each other as much as with their Durnans. In the end, memories of the broken stone wall and the dwarfed black trees were fresh enough that the Duke's soldiers won the day. Most of the other villagers came around eventually, but most of the core troublemakers left to join the front lines of the Dwarf Defiance, and others, I've heard, found their way into the guided compass, the most forward-looking of the Glenfathrin tribes. I don't know if I believe that part myself, but it makes a good story. There's a portrait of one of the chief rabble-rousers and his rival in the peacekeeping faction. Someone's idea of a joke. I don't think they were particularly amused. Tell me about the broken stone wall. That was the first major conflict between the original Durin settlers and the Glenfathins. Happened 3 years into the colonization when some farmers knocked over an Atra menhir that was part of an Griffin ruin. The war didn't last long, but it spread quickly and claimed thousands. In the early weeks, most of the colonists didn't even realize there was war going on until Glenfathin Radiants hit their villages. There'd been small, spontaneous skirmishes between the colonists and the locals before then, but this was organized. That was the start of decades of violence between the colonists and the Glenfathins. As you can see, though, it's full of history, even the little villages like this. Something about the warped black trees. Started back in the colonial days, almost 30 years after the Broken Stone War. Even though isolated conflicts still broke out between settlers and the Glenfathins, both sides had officially agreed to peace. Ector Hadrov, Admet's father, was Gref at the time. As part of the peace negotiation, he'd signed treaties prohibiting Durin colonies from looting Egvith and ruins. However, he'd been unable to outlaw the use of captured Glenfathins as slaves. What's a Gref? A Gref is the governor of the colony and is subservient to the Adurian Emperor. The early leaders of the Adur colony in Durwood, including Adric and Admet Hadref, were Grefs. At the start of the War of Defiance, Admet Hadref declared himself Duke of Northumbria. Shit, this is a lot of information. I'm probably not gonna even fucking need. That's interesting in a way. It's cool to get the lore of the place. At the start of the War of Defiance, it was Duke of Durgrave. It was the same term used with leaders of the newly independent Violent republics. Anyway, we haven't had a grab since. I see. Indeed, the second Clanfathom slaves have continued to be the source of conflict. It came to a head when Imperial agents, aided by the certain earls in the Durwood, began looting the ruins again. See, the Empire had never actually agreed to address treaties on the matter, and the recent secession of the Valen republics likely left them eager to weaken Hadrian's position. The looting sparked a brutal slave uprising and a guerrilla campaign among the Clanfatons. Adrian Hadred was too old to lead forces into battle, and so he sent his son Admeth. Admeth made a costly but effective decision that ended the war faster than anyone could have imagined. He burned the forest near the Ish-Ian River to keep the Clanfathon warband from retreating. Fast of the Clanfathon died, and as Admeth repeated his scourge-of tactics in the following months, he wore down the remainder of the forces. To this day, over 150 years later, there are still sections of the Durwood where the trees are nothing but bare charred trunks. Shit, man.
We're decent folk, my lord. Perhaps you should leave and check the wilds.
Oh yeah, that's the guy that's looking for his daughter. The man wears the Eddie-style robes, but simple but elegant.
My child is out there. Do they not understand?
Simple but elegant, he acts with luck with his hair entwined around his silk-cloaked finger.
My lord, we're doing everything we can. Unfortunately, these villagers...
Beasts take them all. I don't care how you do it, but find her.
I heard you arguing with the innkeeper.
A petty, small-minded man. Just like the rest of them around here. I've been paying him an honest fee for board and bed, and yet he can't be bothered to stir himself to concern for my Alice.
He seemed angry at you.
People from these backwater villages take offense for sport. You have to but show up with a full coin purse, and they'll hear insult in the jingle of your step. They forget that Duke Hadret came from the privileged classes, as did all of the other earls and lords who financed the rebellion they're so proud of. I've asked around, but nobody in this mud hole has any concerns beyond their swine. They turn my men away like beggars and seem downright pleased to be of no use. But you're not one of my soldiers. And you look like you're used to getting your hands dirty, if you don't mind my saying so.
My lord, a mercenary? If you find her, tell her I won't be upset with her. She can come back and all will be well. I just want to make sure my Alice, my child, is safe. Nothing in the world is more important to me. I'd like to ask a few questions about your daughter.
Elise. Of course.
Describe Lady Alice. She's a striking young woman, bears more resemblance to her mother than to me. She has auburn hair and delicate, well-bred features. She must be, 28 or 29 by now. Tell me about her disappearance. We'd stopped in Durford for a few days. On our fourth evening here, I was making plans to continue our journey. Lady Alice was feeling unwell and went to bed. When I retired a couple hours later, I found that she had vanished. None of my men had seen her go, and no one at the end knew where she was. Since then, my people have been combing the village, but we've yet to find a clue, and the locals have been no help. Why did you and Alice come to Durford? It was merely a stop along the way to Aenus Rest. However, she took ill shortly before our arrival, so it seemed prudent to allow her a few days to recover. What's in Aenus Rest? Lady Alice has reached an age where it is prudent for her to marry. Given this legacy business, I can't let her fertile years slip by, nor do I want her womb to fester in the presence of so many hollowborn. It seems there would have been more potential suitors in New Hilma or New Yarma. You think I haven't considered that? Arranging a suitable match is difficult. The best prospects for my child lay in Aenus Rest. The better roads along the coast. Wouldn't it have been easy to follow them to Aenus Rest? If I thought that, I wouldn't be slogging through the forest, would I? The main roads are clogged with people fleeing one way or the other or trying to escape Adrian's legacy. It would be difficult for caravan like mine to pass without incident, At the time, it seemed prudent to move quietly among the back roads. Where's the rest of your family? Surely one wouldn't want to miss your daughter's betrothal. Lady Harrend is ill-suited for travel, I'm afraid. And unfortunately, Alice has few other close relatives. My sister and her husband, Alice's aunt and uncle of course, have been visiting Ada these past months. As for siblings, Alice has none. My wife has only given birth to hollowborn since Alice, that is. I see. Going back to your daughter. Tell them about yourself.
I'm Lord Nestor Harrend of Defiance Bay. My family has been prominent there since Imperial times. Our primary estate is on the outskirts of Brackenbury, but we have holdings in New Haomar as well. Those went to my sister and her husband.
Ah. Goodbye. Okay. Oh, that's a Kickstarter build. Not many new faces these days. Most are eager to leave Durford. Huh. Okay, well, thank you guys for watching this episode of Ankford Plays. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you join next time for more shenanigans. Until then, bye!